I want a Mark Sanchez story. So here's Jayden Daniels.
Yeah.
It's the regular season. Woo! Yeah, there's no more Giants.
Sure.
Now it's Tampa, a team that Baker Mayfield and the Bucs are number 1 in the league in third down conversions. You may be sitting watching chunks of the game.
That's right.
It's on the road, Vita Vea. That Bucs roster, Mark's got a lot of playoff experience. Yours doesn't have any. Take me back to the Mark Sanchez first playoff run.
Yeah, I think most importantly, rookie quarterback on the road in the playoffs. I mean, that's all I knew, because a guy named Tom Brady and the New England Patriots were winning the division, so we had to go on the road quite a bit. And most importantly, when the stage and the atmosphere and everything gets bigger around you, your focus has to narrow. You hear Mike Tomlin talking about that hyper focus and a singular focus. That's where he has to get. And it's fundamentals that win these games, the turnover battle, having a run game, having your defense really step up. Remember, we had an excellent defense in New York, top 5 each year. One of them, I think they were top of the league. And so when you have that, understanding what that gives you as a quarterback, you might steal a possession or two because your guys will get you the ball back, right? Or they're going to be playing so well, like it's okay to go 3 and out and punt, just don't give the ball away. My issue with the Commanders is that defense played 75 snaps last week. Like, they were grinding in a game trying to beat the Cowboys on the road, which was essentially kind of meaningless because Atlanta ends up losing. Now they don't know because the games are at the same time, but a defense has a lot to recover from. So I think that's a factor. I think for a young quarterback and Cliff Kingsbury, just like Brian Schottenheimer did for me, get him completions early. Get him on a hot start. Get him to go 3 for 3, whether it's just easy stuff underneath to the halfbacks, Eckler out of the backfield, Zach Ertz, safe target for Jayden Daniels. We had Dustin Keller, Jericho Cotchery. We'd hand the ball off to Thomas Jones. Like, those were safe, easy plays to start the game and get hot. I think that's really important. And then the biggest matchup to me, if you're talking their offense, Jayden Daniels, is the center. Biotish, remember, he was the 4th rounder from Dallas in 2020. Yeah. They parted ways with him. He goes to the Commanders. Dallas would love to have him back. Right. Okay, he was supposed to take over for Travis Frederick, a legend, Cowboys O-line, known for having all those great centers anchoring those O-lines all the way back to Gerard. I mean, you name it. So this team is going to have a guy who's been banged up the last couple weeks, Biotish, with an ankle injury, going against Vita Vea all game. I mean, Vita Vea is listed at 350. That was probably his combine weight. Yeah. Okay. Right. My man, especially after the holidays, that's a load now. That's like a Winnebago parked in front of the center. That is hard to move. Yeah. So I think that's a big issue for them in the interior part of the pocket, being able to run the ball. And then the next guy I'm looking at is Winfield. Winfield's 50-50 on the Bucs defense as safety. Love Antoine Winfield Jr. He basically got him in the playoffs last year and won him the division on like a strip sack or whatever, or on a strip fumble near the goal line. So this guy is a big deal in the back end for Todd Bowles. But once again, rookie quarterback, great defensive coordinator on the road. That's a tall order.
All right. I'm so pumped for this game, man. I'm so pumped. And I'm so happy this is the 8 o'clock game. Where I watch games, it's just quieter at that time for me. I feel like I get to lock in more, even though all of these games are standalone games now. Something about 8 o'clock game at night, it just feels more settled, and I could just be like more locked in. So I'm more awake too at that hour, honestly. So I'm fired up. Okay, there's a lot to unpack about this game, and we'll be making videos throughout this week onward. First off, the Bucs have the Commanders have a clear chance here, and clearly with the spread, -3 for the Bucs. Vegas in a way is pretty much seen that as a coin flip. 3 at home, that's pretty much a give me. Commanders on the road. When you look at the Packers on the road, it's 4.5. When you look at the Bills and the Broncos, I think it's like 8 or 9 or 10. The Steelers and the Ravens, 10. Like this right here, like they are saying the Bucs and the Commanders have a real chance against the Bucs. These other games they're counting out, and even the Packers versus the Eagles, that's, factoring in the fact that Jalen Hurts hasn't played and may not play. They have to kind of cover their bases because he's still in the concussion protocol. So they're kind of like, well, this dude hasn't even practiced in like weeks. So like, what the heck's he going to look like right now? So I imagine if Jalen Hurts was fully healthy and all that, that would even be even larger. So the fact that it's -3 here is like That's them saying, hey, the Commanders can win. Now, make no mistake about it, this is a brutally difficult situation. A rookie quarterback on the road, like it's just not supposed to be easy. I made the video earlier talking about that with Colin's herd hierarchy, talking about how like you can believe that the Washington Commanders are a top 3 team. They could have the record of a top 3 team and still be like, yeah, on the road in the playoffs, this is hard. Obviously, I know if you're top 3, you can't do that, but I'm just, bear with me. It's just first playoff games, they're different. They're different. And actually, Mark Sanchez years ago really highlighted this perfectly and talked about this. And then if you ever listen to any other people who've also been to the Super Bowl, they talk about it. Where each week, each next round you get to, it just gets more and more and more massive. Just the interviews, where you go for the interviews. Regular season games, it's so small and intimate. And then the first round, it gets like suddenly bigger and you're kind of like, whoa, what is this? And you're like, it's kind of like a deer in headlights. And then the next round, it's even bigger and you're like, whoa, what is this? And same thing going to the Super Bowl. Like, there's so much extra downtime in the Super Bowl that as a player, you're so ingrained and trained to know what the flow and the rhythm of a game is when there are timeouts, any of this other occasional downtime that you get on the field. But in the Super Bowl, it's so much more stretched out. And so as a player, it throws you off. It throws you off. So there's so many different little things, the intensity, everyone's running faster, hitting harder, the game's happening faster. Like, it's just all hands on deck. It's a real thing that we see young quarterbacks especially struggle in the playoffs. So the deck is stacked against them, yet still clearly given a chance here, which I think is really awesome. And what Sanchez was talking about, kind of like these big, easy targets, getting him completions. That's why, and I've been saying this all season, Zach Ertz. First off, he's the one that has won a Super Bowl. He's the one that stepped up massively in the Super Bowl with an amazingly iconic catch. Big time, 4th down conversions. Like, he's been there. He's battle tested. He understands the moment. He knows what it's like. He's been there multiple times. Multiple playoff runs. Multiple teams. He knows it. Get him going. Get him connected in this offense, in this team. He is your workhorse. You get that and the run game going. Zach Ertz and run game. Obviously, I know some of the other weapons, McLaurin and all that, of course. You're going to get him the ball too, but you got to get this foundation. And then you got to know your quarterback. What gets Jayden Daniels settled? I don't have this answer, and I don't think any fan could really know, at least not right now. Cliff Kingsbury and Jayden will know. What gets him more settled? Him using his legs? Getting some design runs in there? Get him kind of moving, the blood pumping? Or does he get settled with some nice, easy completions? And then the legs come after? Like, that's one of those things where, because if it's the legs, then rely on it. But sometimes when you rely on your legs, then passing kind of gets further and further away in terms of like the comfortability. And it's kind of like, then you kind of become too reliant on your legs. Because then it's like the longer you go without really getting comfortable passing, the scarier it gets. It's kind of like the don't look down mentality. So, and this is all real. We can talk about these guys being, ready for the moment and legends and this or that. It's still a real thing that happens. It still is the biggest moment. This will be the biggest game of his entire career since day one. So that's why you just want to do everything you can to make this as easy as possible and create that foundation. And so that's why, again, run game, whether through himself, but honestly, not just himself. You need the running backs to be able to run the ball. They need to be able to get yards because you can't have Jayden do everything. You just can't. And maybe he will be able to, and maybe he can, and he'll pass with flying colors, and that will be awesome. But you still want to create a foundation. Run game, Zach Ertz. Run game, Zach Ertz. That's where my mentality is. And then everything else is going to come about it. You're going to be able to hit the other wide receivers. You're going to be able to hit McLaurin down, for a 40-yard pass, 50-50 ball, whatever it is. Like, you'll be able to, Jayden Daniels will be able to use his legs, avoid tackles, rip off a 25-yard run. He'll be able to do all that. So it's not to say you stay away from that or like, ooh, that stuff's too scary. It's just, I just think it's so crucial to get that comfortability sooner rather than later. Set the tone. Don't let the tone be set for you. Be in charge. That's kind of my mentality. But this game, like I said, like obviously they think that this is a chance. being only favored at 3, for -3 at home for the Bucs, a team that won a playoff game last year, going up against a bottom seed, rookie quarterback. This is one of those games that technically, if the Commanders didn't really have a chance, the Bucs would be favored by 8, 9, 10. Again, we see the Ravens being favored by 10 on the Steelers. We see the Bills being favored by like 8 or 9 or 10 against the Broncos. Like, they're giving the Commanders a chance. They're giving them a real chance. So that's exciting. They have a better record than them. The Commanders have a better record than the Bucs. And Colin's like, "Oh, this you're not just playing the Giants anymore." Well, the Commanders, played the Eagles, top team in the NFL, and beat them. I know Jalen Hurts went down, and we've already talked about that, so I will not rehash that. But still, Jayden Daniels has risen to the occasion. He has. They played great against the Bengals. They played great against lots of teams. We don't have to go down the list of all the big games and moments that Jayden has played. But again, this is going to be a hard game. I really do believe that. I believe that the Commanders absolutely can win, and I am making 0 playoff predictions for any team and any game and any week. I just want to be able to sit back and enjoy these games and just watch and not have the feeling of because I remember last year I think I made a couple predictions and it made it so frustrating. Granted, it was at the very beginning of the channel, and so I didn't really know what I was doing, and I felt the pressure to be accurate, because if I was wrong, then it was proof and all of that. And so I'm really not a big fan of making predictions, because it makes then watching the games less fun for me, and I still want to be able to enjoy the games and watch them, honestly. But I just think, win or lose for the Commanders, this was a smashing success. Even if the Commanders got rolled and Jayden Daniels throws for 140 yards and 2 interceptions, again, I would just be like, yeah, man, par for the course. It's what happens to rookie quarterbacks. It just wouldn't shock me. Again, I'm not predicting that, and I don't actually think that will happen. But it would shock me, but I wouldn't be surprised, if that makes sense. Because I do think Jayden Daniels is that special. But these things take time. These things take time. There is a reason why we don't see even these all-time great quarterbacks, win MVP and win the Super Bowl their rookie year. It takes time. But I think this is a great matchup for the Commanders. I don't know who else you would want them to face that you could be like, okay, because I think being in Tampa, it's a nice weather, because there could have been a situation where you had to be on the road in Lambeau, on the road against Philly. You could make the argument that Philly would be a decent matchup just because you know them, so it makes it a little bit differently. You can kind of go with that mentality, but there could have been a lot of tricky matchups on the road against the Detroit Lions, the Vikings. It could have been so much more of a hostile environment, bad weather. There's nothing worse than having a rookie quarterback on the road in a snowstorm or something. That could be messy, really messy, and really quickly. And again, you can make the argument, well, hey, now it's real messy for both teams, and you could come away with the win. But this, to me, is going to be a more controlled environment. The weather should be a non-factor, at least to my knowledge. And I think the Commanders, at the very least, will be able to approach this game in a way that they want to approach the game and not be forced because of other conditions. So I think that's a good spot to be able to, again, set your rookie quarterback up for success. But man, we are here, and I really cannot wait. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about the Washington Commanders? Any expectations for them in the playoffs? How do you think they'll fare against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.